Good morning, everybody. My name's Norrms. At the age of 50, I was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and I'm now 54. Today's Friday, 25th of November 2011. This is my second news blog, and I hope that you find it informative. 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. 10 days ago, I was re-diagnosed with Lewy bodies. If somebody ever says, what's the worst thing, or what's anything worse than being diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it's being diagnosed twice. Even though I was quite happy with my condition, I'm quite content and to carry on as I was, accepting it. Being told that you have another type of dementia is very, very devastating. As I wrote in my blog, and a few of you read, I had a couple of bad days. Excuse me, had a couple of bad days, accepting it all over again. It was the strangest feeling. There's two ways of thinking here. I always think that early diagnosis, which I talked about last week, is absolutely brilliant. But if anybody said to me, what's the downside of early diagnosis? I said, well, the other one I can think of is when you're told it's like you have two diseases. You have dementia, and knowing you have dementia, it's like two completely different diseases, and it's twice as devastating. So where do we go from here? Everybody who knows me knows I had Alzheimer's. I speak for the Alzheimer's Society. I speak for many other people as well. I volunteer for the Alzheimer's Society, and the good news is I will carry on to do so, because at the end of the day I'm a firm believer that dementia is dementia regardless how it's labelled, whether it's Alzheimer's, Lewy bodies, frontal lobal, PCA, vascular, Lewy body, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day it's still dementia. So how do I feel about this? Well, I'm getting more used to the idea now, but it's still the same devastating news that I've always had. I suppose I've become a little bit complacent in my thinking, because I was getting everything, and with everything I was keeping busy, I was raising awareness. But when somebody comes along like a consultant and sits in your own house and says you have got Lewy bodies, not Alzheimer's, it's still as crushing. But the same resolve is there to dust myself down, get myself up, and fight even harder to make sure that there's not only a cure in my lifetime of this awful disease, but to try and make things a lot better for people like me and their carers. Lewy Bodies Association, I am absolutely astounded to find out it's so small. Lewy Bodies is the second biggest form of Alzheimer's in this country, and yet has so little funding. It has so little coverage in the news and on TV, in the papers and things like that. Well guys, to be honest with you, I think now's the time to change all that. And I think now's the time to change the way that people look at dementia in general. In 2012, as you know, my watchword is help us, help you to help us. That watchword and that quote is directed at all the professionals out there, and if anybody would like to pass this video on to any professionals you know, please do, because I want more involvement with people with dementia. There's not only me that does this, there's loads and loads of people out there that does exactly the same, and I've known that since a few of us have been doing this, there's a lot more people doing it now, because they're finding the courage to do it, they're finding the enthusiasm to do it, and they're not sitting down and just taking it. As soon as you get an early diagnosis, you can do something about it, and you can rant and rave and you can shout about it, but the more people shout, the more people will listen. As you know, I'm the chairman of the Torbay Dementia Leadership Group, and I went to the conference in Torquay, which makes a change. It's usually miles up the motorway, but for a change it was in my hometown. And it was very, very nice. But I stood up and explained to the whole crowd that I was a part of a wonderful group called the Dementia Leadership Group within Torbay, and I was quite surprised to know how many people didn't know that we existed. But during the coffee break, which as some people say, that's when the most work is done, I had so many people contacting me, I had so many people asking for emails, and I had so many people saying, can we get in touch with you, and can we come to the group? We are unique at the group because each one of us, 6, 7 of us, has a different diagnosis, and we all have a diagnosis of some form of dementia. But we're there to help. We're there to help people, we're there to advise people, we're there to say to people, we are here. Will you please listen to us? Because if you don't, I honestly don't believe that we're going to get any further. I do realise that there are people further down the line who can't talk like I can. God bless them, and I know the people who don't want to talk like I do. But I do know in my own memory calf that I can name 5 or 6 people that talk just like I do, and they all have a diagnosis. The more we talk about it, the more we get it out there, the more the stigma will disappear. I read an article in The Guardian the other day, and somebody wrote that my 85-year-old father has the regular type of Alzheimer's age-related disease. Regular? I didn't know Alzheimer's was regular. I didn't know it was an age-related disease either. So I politely wrote back to the person and tried to explain that it can happen at any time. And some of the responses that you read will say, oh, my father's got a touch of Alzheimer's. A touch of Alzheimer's? I suppose that's a little bit like, I'm a little bit pregnant. Do you think? I do. I think that's just how ridiculous it is. People have got to embrace this. People have got to start to realise that people like me do exist, and people like me all over the country do exist. I think I mentioned last week that the advertisement that is on television at the moment is absolutely brilliant, and it's a wonderful thing, and it's been so sincerely done. But between me and you, don't you think it's about time that somebody with a diagnosis was doing the advertisement and not actors? I do. Now, I'm not saying I'm putting myself up for that, but I really do think that the impact, hearing it straight from the heart, will be so much more effective. We had the lead dementia GP at our leadership group yesterday, and he was absolutely astounded to find that we were all so articulate. And this is the lead dementia GP. And he was absolutely astounded at some of our answers that he asked us about how we felt about dementia, how we felt about certain documents. And all he kept saying was, that's really interesting, that's really interesting. And then when I talked about the beauties of taking, maybe beauties is not the right word, the benefits of taking Ibixa, I asked the doctor, I said, what's your thoughts on Ibixa? And he said, well, every drug has its place, which is quite right, and apparently it's only given to people who are in moderate to late stages of Alzheimer's disease. After he'd finished, I then told him that for the first 12 months of my life, after I'd been diagnosed, I went gradually downhill, and then I started to slip so fast that my consultant then put me on Ibixa, or Memantine, as it's called. Within 4 months of me taking that drug, I got my life back. I truly had. Within 12 or 18 months, I'd written my first book. In the last 4 years, I've written 3 books. I stand up at conferences, I do presentations, I do blogs all over the world, and I have some wonderful friends that support me over the internet and at home. And as you know, I do have the most supportive family. I'm very lucky like that. It was absolutely gobsmacked, as we'd say. And he said, if you stood up in front of other doctors and told them this, what has happened to you, then maybe Ibixa will be more widely available and more widely prescribed by doctors. So my question was, well, why don't you invite me along to there? Why don't you ask me to come along and speak to these doctors? That was only yesterday, so I am awaiting his email invitation. but I'll let you know as soon as I do, and obviously I'll let you know how we go on. By speaking out like this, I hope that you understand that people with Alzheimer's have a voice, and by doing things like this, I hope that I could just try and get across that we want to help you to help us, to help you. We want you to approach us. We want you to talk to us, but most of all, we want you to listen to us. Listen to what we have to say. If you listen, I really do believe that we can move this forward once and for all. Thank you so much. I hope this has been helpful. This is me signing off, and hopefully we'll speak again next week. Okay, thanks guys. Bye.